This is where the fun begins.
Good morning to all you wonderful George Lucas era Star Wars fans, and welcome for Thursday morning Caff Chat. I am so happy to be here with you guys. Missed you guys. Happy to come here every Thursday and sit with a nice hot mug of coffee and chat Star Wars with you, and even Cringe Factor, which we will be going into later. Today's topics, I don't have a poll here, sorry about that, but today's topics basically is Order 66, the Jedi Purge, everything that happens at the end of basically the Old Republic. If you don't realize it, that the PT era is basically the ending of the Old Republic as known in the Star Wars history. And so first of all, if you are here watching the replay after the show's all over, please hit that like button. Let me know you came in to watch and your support, all of that good stuff. And for those who are tuning in, thank you guys for coming in and always being with me here on Caff Chat. Please like, share, and let people know that I'm live on your social media here. So, I haven't been really keeping in tune with a lot of Star Wars news, where like modern Star Wars, I guess you could say, if that's what you want to call it. So I don't have much to talk about. However, it ceases to amaze me. And I shouldn't be amazed or stunned or whatever at this point. But I'm always finding videos, clips, interviews, and all that of Filoni not knowing the lore actually pertaining to the movies. And I did share something like that on Twitter. So if you guys want to check that on my Twitter, I will reshare that as well. So I do have people trickling in here. So the most important question of the day or the morning or wherever you're at is, what are you enjoying? What's in your mug? I understand that everybody's tuning in from different areas of the United States and the world, but it's morning time for me. So what beverage are you enjoying right now? Let's see here. And I didn't do a poll because I just totally forgot all about it. I just went over my head, and I don't have a poll up. So I apologize. So let's see here. Let me see what kind of poll can I make today. Not one that's voting on character or anything like that. Let me see here, but I'm going to go ahead and say hello to some of you guys that are popping in already. Welcome, chat, and hello, Alora. This is where the fun begins. Yes, thank you so much, and a channel member. Thank you for always tuning in, and thank you for your support. Iron Inquisitor, basically, too, was hanging out before the show started. Got my coffee ready. Cheers to you on that. Let's see here. James Unchained. Hello. How are you doing? And good morning, Iris. Tired today. I am going to make a coffee now. 3 meetings this AM for work. My head. Oh, God. I'm so sorry about that. I know work. Yeah, you got to make the money so you can survive. That's the standards of modern times. You make money so you can survive. You can, provide heat and all that stuff for your homes and all that, and so you're on the grind. I understand you're on your grind. James Unchained said, and hello, James Unchained again. Order 66 used to be a big deal, but as Disney keeps making all these Jedi survive, it diminishes Order 66, in my honest opinion. Yes, we'll get into that a little bit more. I was sitting down this morning listening to Back to War, and then I was like, I'm going to go ahead and just look at all the contingency orders other than Order 66, review on the Purge and Order 66, how many people, how many Jedi survived, all of that. So I was just going through all that. It's fun just to sit down and prep for calf chat, whether the night before or in the morning or both, and get everything ready for you guys because it gets so fascinating looking at the history of Star Wars. Batsy Universe, hello. Well, hello to you back. And Red Hood Winked. No one blames you, to be honest. There's isn't really anything interesting with Star Wars nowadays. Yeah. You got that, my friend. You got that. But we do like to talk about things that are going on anyways, especially on the spacing, which I may not be on because we do have some guests coming in and their time frame is the show has to be somewhat earlier than normal. And I work and then I get home, I clean up, and I get on the spacing. So I may not be there because of the timing. But I want you guys to go tune into the spacing this Friday night. I don't have the exact time in front of me, but I know it's going to be a little bit later than normal. And they're going to discuss Filoni. They're going to discuss probably Ahsoka, all of that good stuff. It's the ladies, and I forget their name. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, but I forget their names, but they are on your Alibi channel. So I've was introduced to them as well, and they have some great videos that break down Ahsoka as a Mary Sue or OP character, all of that. I suggest to for you guys to check it out. My mod, he's going to be away today, so I don't have a mod right now tuning in, so I can pull up links. It's just going to take me time. So just bear with me today. It's just one of those days. It's rainy and cold out. We're still experiencing floods where I live at. The ground is so saturated, which California desperately needs the rain. And yeah, so it's just one of those days. It's not a bad day. I don't feel gloomy whatsoever. I'm happy to be here with you guys. So Holocron Library Fox. Good morning, Alora. Hail that chat or the chat. Have a good show. Have a good show. I'm peeking in on my way to bed. Okay, well, thank you so much, and sweet dreams to you. Sleep well. And let's see here. Christopher Barker says, "Hey, OG, currently playing Arkham Asylum." Oh, okay, awesome. It's one of those days, huh? Game day. You know, you're gonna chill. You're gonna play a game. You're gonna have all your favorite snacks and stuff. You know, I remember those days. I used to play games a lot when I was smaller. I'm only 5 foot, so when I was under 5 foot, I'm joking, but geez, I sound like a little hobbit or something. When I was that little, yeah, but I was a gamer at one point. Loved playing games, and then I started getting into band. I started getting into dance, all of that, and and that just took most of my time. So I couldn't really get into into gaming like I liked. So yeah, poll ideas. Best way to kill Yoda imposter. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see. Let's see. Eventually, I could see them making more Jedi Survivor or Survive Order 66 in the new canon than in the EU. That's the thing. I didn't go back to count the survivors in the Disney lore because that's not my point. I should have, because the article that we're going to read, and mind you, I didn't read through that whole article that we're going to share for Cringe Factor, so you're going to see some very authentic takes today. So we'll see. And then Orange Hat Review. She survived against Grievous as a Padawan. That's a Mary Sue. She should have. Grievous. The reason why Obi-Wan was sent to counter Grievous is because he mastered his technique. Was it Sorsu or something like that? He mastered his technique, and so they thought that he was a great match and could take out Grievous. He still struggled a little bit. There was still some struggle. And then it was a very good fight. I wouldn't say fight because they weren't constantly fighting, but it was a very good one-on-one. Yeah, so that part, I don't know what you guys think about Obi-Wan versus Grievous. Let me know in the chat. Because the Clone Wars '03, Tartakovsky's Clone Wars, and leading up into Revenge of the Sith, Grievous wasn't this mustachy getaway guy as much as the Clone Wars shared him. So that's like the Filoni Clone Wars. Even Gandhi and them in the production of the Clone Wars '03 were had to change directions with him. George wanted two things out of Grievous, and then finally settled on the latter of him being a villain that someone has to reckon for. If you watch behind the scenes, you'll get that whole conversation of first being a mustachy villain, then realizing that that's not what he is, and having to go back and not redo that, but make him perceived much better as a better villain. Let's see here. Christopher Barker. The Ahsoka show is really just Star Wars Rebels season 5 at this point. Wow. All right. I don't once the Ahsoka show comes out, I'm not gonna watch it. But because I am making evidence on her character about being this force being, or this force wizard, I guess you could say, or goddess, or whatever you want to call her, I am keeping an eye on her development. Basically, I'm keeping an eye on her development. And then Kirian Davy, hi. Well, hello. I don't think I've seen you here before, and thank you for tuning in to Caff Chat. This is about George Lucas era of Star Wars, and then we do get into cringe factor. We do talk between the lores at times, compare and contrast kind of deal. Sometimes, most of the time, I have polls up that you guys can vote on. Orange Hat Review had a good one of like about Yoda and how to defeat his imposter or whatever. Let's see here. If you want to grant the gift of the wrench, I can fill in if need be. Yes, I should. I just need to open this up. Let me see here. I gotta open up a new window. I wish I was I have here. There we go. I wish I had my other computer next to me, because the computer behind me is what I used for my secondary screen. Let's see here. Let's see here. Okay, there we go. All right. And we got ya. Order 66. That's the way. Let's see here. Hey everyone, hope you all are having a better week than I've had so far. I'm so sorry, Jim. It sucks when you have this week where it's like, ugh, things just keep coming and coming and coming. But what I've learned is that those events are there to make you stronger. It might not seem like it, and I'm not trying to get into this guru type of like positivity talk or whatever. But yeah, so when we overcome our bad weeks, we get stronger. We build character, basically. Let's see here. Like 12 survived in the EU, more than 30 survived in false lore. See, okay, so you did the count, because I haven't went back and counted yet. And there's a list that Wikipedia did. I really don't use them anymore. Where it has all the survivors, Jedi survivors, both lores, I guess you could say. And they had a lot of game characters that survived. But when you play the games and they're no longer like in the books, the novels, the comics, what have you, they're just there for the game mechanics. So those don't really count. If they do show up in the lore, then there has to be a death. And so I was doing a research about 2 years ago about that, because I got into a debate with someone, and some of those characters basically were just NPCs, basically. And then some of them, later on, if you do the research, they died, or they totally just disappeared, wasn't involved whatsoever with the galaxy anymore. So that we have those as well. Let's see here. Hello, Matt G. How are you doing? And let's see here. Iron Inquisitor. There are at least 30 to 40 confirmed survivors in the new canon after Order 66. Oh wow. Okay. See, like I said, I didn't sit down and um do the math, but I will share the numbers with you. But most of them were killed after the Purge. So we'll get into some of that history. I usually am spontaneous. I'm usually extra, and I usually do like spreadsheets that I can share with you on the screen here. I did not do it today. I thought about it. I debated about it, but I was like, I'm hungry. I need to cook breakfast for myself. I wanted to sit down and relax and finish listening to the Audible I'm listening to, and then come in and do a little bit of research or whatever that I think that I might have been missing from last night's prep for Caff Chat. Let's see here. Orange Chat review. And according to novels, Grievous and Kenobi met for the first time on the Invisible Hand. Right. Okay, there we go. And Matt G with this coffee. Cheers to you. Yeah, I feel like I need that many cups of coffee. Christopher says starting watching the Harley Quinn animated series OG. Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah, those are pretty cool. It's fantastic. Better than Disney Star Wars Baby Yoda crap. I bet. Way better than that shit. Let's see here. And coming down here, that does not sound good coming down. Okay. That's the universe. Were any Jedi survivors part of the rebellion in the original lore? No. I know in Dark Forces, what was his name? Ron? Not Ron. Ron Coda, I believe. Yes. But he died. He died before Luke even came into the picture, because he needed to die before Luke came into the picture. And then the Jedi that was friend with Kyle Katarn's father, he got executed too. So any Jedi that even were like part of, and Ram Koda comes from Force Unleashed, but he had to die. And all of that. So there's a little bit of that, a little bit of influence, I guess you could say, but not necessarily. Yeah. Let's see here. Oh, gee, what was the channel with the ladies called again? I'm Your Alibi. It's called I'm Your Alibi. And so I found a clip with Sam Witwer correcting Filoni on a lore detail. My respect for Mr. Witwer went up. Yeah, I think I might have shared the same video. Was it about Padme? Was it about Anakin having a vision, a dream, or whatever, or seeing his mother, and it's like, hey, guess what? I'm married, and I want you to meet her, and blah 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 blah. Is it that one? Because I think I might have pulled up the same one. If not, then there's another one. So let me know, because and then Sam's like, wait a minute, but they did meet in the Phantom Menace, and then Filoni's like, he said Filoni's like tipped his head, bowed his head down, and was like, oh shit. But when you listen to some of the recent interviews of Favreau and Filoni and how they're talking about the lightsaber and parts of the lore and stuff like that, he doesn't get it. Even with Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi. So it's like, dude, if you're supposed to be this apprentice of George and the movies in your minds is the only thing that's canon, then why the hell are you fucking up? Even with that. Do you even know what you're doing? Probably not, but still, that's for a different story, different time. Hey guys, just getting online now. What's up? what's up, Batu? So we are just discussing in general Star Wars stuff, and I'm gonna segue into Order 66 here pretty soon. Okay. Yes, I figured it was the same one. Okay, good. I was hoping in a way it wasn't, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was a different, a different account, because like I said, there's so many of them now. So many. And here you guys go. So I'm your alibi. These gals will be on the space scene this Friday. Again, I don't have the time in front of me. Let me see. I'll pull it up on my phone while we're here, and it's fresh on my mind because I think he already made the link to the video. So, and then I'll share Pacific Standard Time, which is my time. Let's see here. Okay, so it's 5:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So the spacing is 5:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I will be at the studio prepping, heating up the rooms for the hot yoga, the room for the hot yoga, prepping and opening up the studio for the students to come in and start setting up. So I will not be with them for that. I may, if they're still online, if they're still going when I'm done, I may hop on. So we'll see. So I may be late or I may not be on there whatsoever because I'll be working. I'll be at work. Us YouTubers do work. Don't believe those people who say that we live in our parents' basement and live off our parents, blah, 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 blah. No, I own my own businesses, I guess you could say. Well, not I guess you could say, but I own my own businesses. I also have this beautiful thing of YouTube that I love sharing with you guys about original Star Wars lore. So this is more of a passion, something fun to do, keep the Star Wars alive, the original Star Wars alive for you guys in front of your face. And then I have my businesses. Then I have, my family. Then I have, I like to go and travel and dance and do things. I like to travel. But I get on the powwow trail. So coming to summer, we're talking about going back on the powwow trail. So there may be times that I may not be having calf chat, but we usually leave Fridays to travel. So it should not interfere whatsoever. So I'm just letting you guys know. And then Robert DeCosta, hello. Greetings, exalted ones. Hello, how are you doing? All right, you guys. So thank you guys very much for sharing all your comments and stuff. We're going to segue into Order 66. So we're also going to kind of get into the clones a little bit too, I'm guessing, because it's like Order 66 is not just that. It's like who issued it, why it was there, who were the receivers, why did they obey, all of those little nuances that build up this dramatic scene of Order 66 leading into the Dark Times and the Purge. So it's very fascinating. So Lady of Iron says, how many Jedi survived the expanded universe? Was it less than Disney's? You mean after the Purge? Because that's the thing. Once Order 66 happens, there are going to be some remaining Jedi. Always. It's going to just be that way. Now, it goes into the Purge, the Jedi Purge. How many were survivors after the Purge? And it's very, very, very few. Of course, we know Yoda and Obi-Wan, but they went into exile because they needed to hide. They needed to keep hidden so that they can keep the Order alive, and then they can train the hope of the galaxy, basically Luke. And I do have I do have that hope. Well, I don't even know how to point up to the corner there. Right there. So that is one of my paintings I did. I didn't put the word hope on the painting. Behind the painting is the Star Wars Galaxy, which I have to finish. But I did scan it. I did crop it. I did digitalize art with it. And then I put the word hope under there. So that's Luke Skywalker. That's him gazing out on the twin suns, and so basically I used his silhouette for the background of Tatooine. So him looking up at the twin suns. And then his garb is like the Dune Sea and all that. Very, very dramatic, I guess you could say, in a sense. All right, let's see here. And a few Jedi that joined Cal Skirata. Yeah, so basically there were Jedi that gave up gave up existing and living like Jedi. So that means they're no longer Jedi. And that's what people fail to realize. Like, if the people ceased, if those beings, those Jedi ceased to live by the Jedi code, by the Jedi values and virtues and stuff, and put down their lightsaber and don't do anything and just become a standard normal human being, or being, I guess you can say, they no longer cease to be Jedi. So that's it. It says, remember when death actually meant something in Star Wars? Now nobody even checks the bodies. Right. Order 66 stayed in effect until the end of the Empire above Endor. Yeah. It was really, yeah. Technically, survivors are considered as Jedi. Yeah, so Order 66 stayed in, and it was later basically called the Purge. So the Purge is the one that basically evolved from the Order 66. Yeah. And technically, survivors are considered as Jedi who survived the initial Purge when the order was given. So let's see here. Robert DeCosta, Luke Skywalker, The Last Hope of the Galaxy. I own that special edition comic collection. Nice. Yeah, I think I have it too here. Let me check. I am like, okay, so I'm going to get up. You guys are going to see I have my pajama bottoms on and the top I'm wearing today because it's just my morning. Okay, so I'm going to go grab it real quick. This thing is heavy. It is heavy. Don't mind the pajama bottoms, you guys. I'm not wearing leggings, so that you didn't get to see any figure of the legs and the booty. Sorry about that. No show. And yeah, so this is it. And this thing weighs a ton. Look at that. These are all Luke Skywalker comics. Isn't it gorgeous? And then, of course, it has the ribbon, so you can mark off the space where you left off at. This thing I could do a workout with. Yeah, very, very awesome. I am glad I invested in this sucker. No Legends label on it whatsoever. It's an awesome addition to my collection. So, Robert, I'm with you on that. Batsy says, what's your favorite planet, OG? I think you asked that last time. I really haven't sat down and really thought about it. I don't know. Chat, you answer that too. I still really haven't really found a favorite planet or have a favorite planet. Orange Hat says the only Jedi to join Cal Skirata is Eden, yeah. And Barden Jusek. Eden stayed a Jedi up till her death during Order 66 Purge events. Barden left the Order before Order 66, not considered a survivor. Let's see here. Yes, that's the one. Yeah. And the thing is like a ton. It's like you can, like I said, you can build some good forearm strength here. If you need, good forearm strength, that sucker, you can hold on to it, all that. All right, let's see here. From my research from the few years back, I remember, right, there might have only been like 20 left by Return of the Jedi. Most of these stopped being Jedi and fell for the dark side. Yeah, a lot of them did kind of turn or just completely disappeared or was dead. So basically, let's get into this. Let's do this. Onderon, because of the Beast Wars. Ooh, that's interesting. So everybody's sharing theirs. I think I might like Felucia. I think I said it right. Anyways, Order 66, also known as the Clone Protocol 66. So if you guys didn't know, it was also called the Clone Protocol 66, and it was a part of a contingency order called, let me see here, do I have it in front of me? But there is a contingency plan, and there were so many different plans within that, like Order 65 and Order 55 and all of that, and this was a series of contingency orders, if I can talk, that the clone troopers of the Grand Army of the Republic are the Gar, were to obey without question. So this goes into the chip. All the lore, even like Dark Lord, Rise of Darth Vader, if you guys have not read that novel, please pick it up. It parallels Obi-Wan Kenobi, or the Kenobi novel. They happen around the same time, and they can happen at the same time because the two characters that they're about and the stories they're about are happening, parallel with each other. They're in the same timeline, but they're in totally different, going on in totally different parts of the galaxy. So Order 66, basically with the clone troopers, we see in the movies and the vast majority of the lore that relates to them that the Kaminoans or whatever, I always have a hard time saying them. They genetically altered them to obey. There was no chips whatsoever. They were to obey without question from the beginning of their birth. They were made that way to obey their commanders, their generals, and especially to obey basically the chief of them all. If you want to, put in, our modern day linguistics, so the chancellor, when the order was given. Tusca, but what was Order 65? Let me get that for you, because I didn't write the Order 65. I was looking at it this morning. But I will get that for you right now. Right here, right now. Let's see here. So Order 65. 65, Order 65. Where is it at? Let's see here. Yeah, what is Order 65? Order 65? Order 65? Let's see here. I'm going to scroll up here while I'm waiting. And anybody else has a favorite planet? And thank you so much, Hell OG. Hell all. Hello. How are you doing? I can't say that. Nick Riddick TV? That sounds crazy. I probably butchered the shit out of that. I'm so sorry. Orange Hat says, Executive Order 66, all Jedi are to be arrested or executed with prejudice and marked as traitors to the Republic. Correct. And hello to another channel member. Thank you so much for tuning in. Let me see here. Let me get you the Order 65 if I can. All right, here it is. Order 65. In the event of either one, a majority of the Senate declaring the Supreme Commander Chancellor to be unfit to issue orders, or two, the Security Council declaring him or her to be unfit to issue orders, and an authenticated order being received by the Guard, commanders shall be authorized to detain the Supreme Chancellor with lethal force if necessary. Command of the Guard shall fall to the acting chancellor until successor is appointed or alternative authority identified as outlined in the section 6 of, so there you go. So basically, Order 65 was what Mace Windu was issuing, in a sense, when he went to go arrest the Chancellor. There you go. So there's Order 65. Let's see here. Okay. Right there. And let's see here. Only ARC troopers and clone commanders had more independence in the original lore than the regular clone troopers. They could disobey the order if they wanted to, and some chose to, unlike the regulars. So that's the difference there. So, like I said, the clones were genetically altered. And you had the ARC and you had the Nulls and all them that were created differently because they had to give orders as well. And And then we have the chip. So last night when I was prepping for Caff Chat, deciding what we were going to talk about this morning, I was like, okay, so let me get further to this chip thing, this biochip. The inhibitor chip is what they also call it. Which inhibitor chip means that they're inhibited to do, they're not to do. So what that is, so when it has to be the exact phrasing per Filoni lore. I'm not calling it George lore. I'm not calling any of that. And I wish I could find that interview. I should have saved it. I need to go and really do some archival search here on the internet. But George Lucas basically was like, there's no chip. But see, I'm not going to really emphasize it until I find that exact quote of his. But when you look at the overall lore, there was no chip. But this chip here, how Palpatine has to phrase it, and their holocrons that they held up, that you see like Cody and them hold up when they're receiving the order, are there? And this is where it gets sticky. This is where it gets sticky. This is where the lore gets sticky, because Filoni is like, this was a bullshit move to add the chips. So it's how Palpatine said the phrase. So his wording, and that wording, how he said it, how he issued Order 66, and how his tone of voice is, then activated that stupid chip to brainwash them in the moment. That's it. So the inhibitor chips, the biochips, wasn't doing anything anyways until he issued Order 66. Then it brainwashed him. That's what's behind the Filoni lore. Probably now true to Disney lore. But my question is this. Once the order is issued, how do you now then take that order back so they no longer are obeying the command? There has to be given another order to resend the command, because then you have these clones that are now defecting, are leaving, are no longer used to the Empire, out in the universe, out in the galaxy, and maybe they run into a Jedi, or maybe they run into someone that's holding a lightsaber. So now you have these mass killers with the stereotypical, like, if someone's holding a saber or looks like a Jedi wearing the robe or whatever, it's just going to slay someone. See where that gets kind of sticky there? Let's see here. All those orders and no stupid chip, right? Why would an executive issue an order that creates a path for his own removal? This right here, and I was going to get into this. So I was going to get into this because there's so many orders. And it was a cover-up. Basically, Tuscan, it's a kind of like a cover-up to make it look like there's that he is a fair chancellor, in a sense. Okay, so basically, I know Orange Chat was sharing some information in here. So this Order 66 branded members of the Jedi Order as traitors and called for immediate execution. So this is where we get into the, like I said, I question the inhibitor chip or the biochip or whatever you want to call them, because of some of these crazy questions and stipulations that come up. There were over 150 orders, correct. I haven't got to that. Due to genetic programming of the clones, and it goes back to what I was talking about, to obey authority by the Kaminoans, this marked the beginning of the Jedi Purge. So Order 66 continued on as the Jedi Purge. And that Jedi Purge was even in effect once we get to the movies, once we get close to the movies and stuff. Because if there's any inkling of the Jedi to be coming back, then they need to be eradicated, right? Because that will harm the Empire and Palpatine's, future, I guess you could say. That's the universe, but how can the Senate deem the Supreme Chancellor unfit if Palpatine was the Senate? That's just a phrase. Don't take that phrase literally. Give John and Dave a few seasons. Everyone will be born with a chip, and that's what tracking bombs turn into. There you go. Boom. There you go. So everybody, the grand priestess, the high priest, not priestess, priest. Sorry about that. I know I'm like assuming gender, I guess you can say, and saying that you transitioned, but that doesn't make sense because that's not the Tuscan way. Anyways, let's see here. Now Filoni can milk Order 66 by making stories of every named clone defect afterwards. Interesting. Filoni is full of Osik then, because in Disney lore, a Jedi forced clones to attack the Inquisitors by repeating Executive Order 66. He's never been consistent. Never ever. Not with the lore he created. Look at the dork saber. Look at the helmet issue now. All of a sudden, like, you have to wear a helmet to be a Mandalorian. Whoever, and she's not even the boss. She's not even the leader. She's like, you have to obey those who are carrying the dork saber as your leader. But then everybody listens to her as a leader. It's so fucking stupid. It's like, what do you want to do here? Anyways, we're not really getting into that shit, but that's just a point I wanted to make. Let's see here. I hate the biochip thing. It ruins the tragedy of the clones, that they were never good guys, just playing them. Now they try and give them sympathy. Don't misgender me. I'm so sorry. Didn't mean to. I was just talking about Ahsoka before you came in, about, me doing my research, proving that she's going to be some kind of force priestess, goddess kind of thing. So Ira says, wouldn't it be nice if these people would just create their own story and leave George's alone for their revision, from their revisions? The way Star Wars is set up, and I'm not giving them an excuse, because I want them to leave that shit alone. I want them to expand out and stay away from all that. But, Star Wars is unique because it's one single history and expands off what was created before. And this is where they get into trouble, because they want to do their own thing, but they don't want to obey the continuity. It's disgusting. Tuscan says, one of my greatest achievement is get OG to use the word dork saber. Oh, yeah, it is a dork saber. And about what I said earlier, I do feel sympathy for them with or without the chips, but nonetheless, they betrayed the Jedi, and I hate backstabbers. And Terminus, hello, how you doing? Dave and John are just making up shit as they go. Well, when you go back and listen to one of Favreau's recent interviews, he does say that he doesn't plan ahead, but when he sits down in the moment when he's writing about these characters and thinks, I wonder what the character is up to now, basically. So basically, he doesn't have a plan. He doesn't follow continuity. He doesn't follow, like, even what happened just recently, because he figures, well, what is this character thinking about doing now? Okay, well, first of all, no matter where you want to take the character going forward, you have to still remember what happened in the past. He doesn't. And he's like, thinking about it to me is less creative. I'm like, what the fuck? Okay, whatever. So basically, let's get into now about the Jedi being killed, the survivors, all of that. Almost all the Jedi were killed during the issuance of Order 66. The surviving Jedi were killed during the Purge. So I just, talked about the Jedi Purge. The Jedi Purge happened during, after Order 66, the beginning of Order 66. and any remaining Jedi then were hunted down by Vader, with the exception of Obi-Wan and Yoda, because they needed to go into exile. They needed to stay hidden because the Jedi Order was in stake. They needed to keep that going. Their hope was put, hidden away. Basically, Anakin and Padme's children. They needed to stay away from the galaxy so that they can then train the hope that the Jedi Order can survive through them. And so they're the exception to the rule. There shouldn't be any other exception to the rule set up. That's why people question about, the original Purge and the survivors during that time. Because by the time we get to the OT, Yoda tells Luke that he is the last Jedi. After I'm gone, the last Jedi you will be. So any surviving Jedi that are acting Jedi, living by the Jedi code on their own, or by the Jedi training and all this other stuff, needs to be absent. So Ahsoka in the Disney lore, is she a Jedi? No. But is she living by the Jedi way as she was trained and stuff? Yes. So there's that conflict. Because she's still going out and doing and protecting like a Jedi does, because that's what she was trained. So there's a huge conflict with that. Let's see here. Right on. Follow the story you or make your own. I like more, but I want it to flow and not confuse or contradict. So one of those series I've been listening to, because I randomly put on audibles if I'm not able to sit down and read, like this right here. Now I want to go through this sucker again. This thing is heavy. I can freaking knock someone out with this shit. But so I'll listen to an audible. Sometimes, it's Star Wars. Sometimes it's something completely different. But I did listen to Back to War out of the X-Wing series. So that's a prime example of kind of doing your own thing, but still honoring the lore. Because you have brand new characters you're introducing. You are also using legacy characters from the movies, which, Wedge Antilles, we don't hear anything about him. Like his backstory was never fleshed out in the movies. He was a secondary character, but he was well liked. And by the time we get the EU material, that's when we know more about him, especially in the X-Wing series. So that's a prime example of that. And it's also a prime example that you don't need Jedi to carry on a fascinating stories in the Star Wars galaxy. However, there's still talk about Jedi because, Luke at the time is bringing back the Order. But he hasn't found anybody basically to train just yet. He's redoing his research. He's got material to use from Cornhorn's finding of the Jedi museum that he kept hidden, and all that. Let's see here. Okay, I read that one. And let's see here. Christopher says, what are OG's thoughts on the recent Mando? I don't have any thoughts of it right now. Other than what I shared about the helmet thing, none whatsoever. It's like, these are fake Mandalorians, really. It's like, and they don't know where they want to go with the story. It's so stupid. It's idiotic. I stepped out to talk to my dad about possible land purchase. What have I missed? Oh, land purchase. That's pretty cool. Are you guys going to build a home or a business or something? I'm curious now. We are talking about the Jedi Order, Order 66, the Purge, and just surrounding lore. Tons more Jedi would have lived if they lit a fire around themselves to hide under. But yeah, so that would be like after, Anakin's or Vader, young Vader, and Obi-Wan's fight on Mustafar, right? When Vader finally gets in the suit. Just imagine that. You can't get me now. And they take their saber, or they take like a torch and make a circle around them, like a big old fire circle around them, or they draw a line between them and Vader, and he just stands there and just stares at them. That's how stupid Disney lore made Vader at the time. So fucking stupid. It's like you see him tossing, and I've seen those scenes in Kenobi, Obi-Wan Kenobi show. Okay, show. It's far less than okay. But anyways, he's really like, he really was using the Force, and he was doing this and that, and all of a sudden, bam, he can't do anything because of fire. I don't know. Fucking stupid. Fucking stupid. And you know what? People were praising Chow because they're like, oh, her show in The Mandalorian, her episode that she did was amazing. Okay, well, I guess, I don't know. But people were praising her, and they're like, oh, she's a woman. She's going to have her own, she's going to, now have her own series, her own, her own show. Look what happened. She made Vader a cuck. That's all I got to say about that. Let's see here. She's working at the Waffle House during the OT. So it's okay. Let's see here. What else do you guys have to say? The Death Watch and TCW were better than this Children of the Watch crap. Yeah, like all of a sudden you have these Children of the Watch, because I did a little research on that when I first found about the Children of the Watch. They're basically just the Death Watch. That's it. And there's not that much time that passed for that group to evolve significantly. So I don't know. What do you guys think? So knowing about the Mandalorian culture set in the original lore, and then what Filoni did with it to now, what are your guys' opinion about that? At OG Star Wars, we're planning to farm it. Oh, okay. We've leased it for years, and the owners have offered to sell it to us. Oh, well, cheers to you guys. What are you guys going to farm? What are you guys going to plant? Let's see here. Weak-minded, right? Yep. All right, so let's go on. Let me take a drink. And if you're tuning in, thank you very much for tuning in and having this discussion. We will be segueing into our cringe factor article here pretty soon. Very simple day today. Very, very simple. I know last Thursday we stayed a little longer. So one of the very first operation during Order 66 was Operation Nightfall. So it's not night as in nighttime. It's nightfall as nights are falling. And Jedi Knights are falling. This was taking of the temple, killing everyone in the temple, including non-Jedi staff. So the 501st and Vader took no mercy on anyone. But according to Disney lore, they didn't check for deaths. Like, they didn't check if they fully killed people. So I don't know. No Jedi in the temple were spared, but few escaped. Very few. And there's like 3 of them that were documented as escaping. Shaak Ti, which I was going to go ahead and maybe next Thursday we'll talk about Shaak Ti, talk about the Togruta species, and Shaak Ti's deaths. Because, like the Lego death, Lego is not exact lore. That's not canon. So we'll I've narrowed down her true death scene within the lore, following what the canon rules are. But I will discuss this next week. So that will be, so now you guys got it, what we're going to talk about kind of, or partly, for next week, Shaak Ti. Then you have Kazdan, Paratus, basically Paratus. And then you have Jinlo race. So there's those 3 that are documented that were survivors of the temple. So maybe we'll go into Survivors of the Temple maybe next week too. I'm not guaranteed, but we will talk about Shakti and whatever cringe factor um, subject we're going to talk about and break down the lore behind what this cringe factor article is about as well. So those are the three. So having someone survive the purge or nightfall was common, but it was the exception to the rule. Shakti is a master. The other two, I believe, I didn't see if what title they held, what their ranking was. But I'll go check out here pretty soon. Filoni made Death Watch actual Mandalorians. When in the EU, Death Watch were Dar Manda correct. No longer Mandalorian. He destroyed lore. Yep, he sure did. Let's see here. Shakti died several times. One was Invisible Hand during the deleted scenes. Deleted scenes don't count. In the Jedi Temple deleted scene, that doesn't count. And Felucia after imbalancing the planet's force alignment. So there you go. So that's the thing. We'll get into more of that because deleted scenes don't count. But what was in the novel? So we'll break that down. We will break that down. What was in the novel, does it count or doesn't it count? So we'll get into that once we get more into that. So that will be next week. So if you guys want to brush up on your Shakti lore for the conversation, I highly recommend it. I think she is a fascinating character, a little bit underrated in a sense. I would have loved to see more of Shakti than of Ahsoka, that's for sure. Let's see here. I think I missed this. This is the way. Unless the chick with the hammer arbitrarily grants you a helmet pass. John and Dave, the saviors. Correct. This is the way. Yeah. So we'll get into more of Shakti, break down, see if we can come to. I feel like I'm pretty confident in which one is actual her death according to the rules. I guess you could say of canon. I guess you could say, but we'll get into that. That'd be an interesting conversation, right? Something kind of controversial or something that the fans like to debate about. Because debate, I don't know, is debate controversial? He's like debating controversial things. I don't know. Anyways, Orange Chat Review says which her death caused the planet to fall into its dark side leaning balance. Too bad we didn't get the Escape from Dragu novel. There's a lot of novels, but the reason why is because it didn't fit. There's something about it that didn't fit the lore and the direction they wanted to go. And stuff. So it's amazing how many novels, if you get to chance to find out how many novels were not brought in, that were vetoed at one way or another because something did not fit. The Lego one is obviously her official death. No, the Lego is not canon stuff. There you go. And again, we'll discuss this next week. So before we segue into cringe factor, because we're kind of coming up on the hour now to discuss cringe factor, we'll finish up this here. So an estimated 100 Jedi survived Order 66. Which, Order 66 sparked the Jedi Purge. So it was the continuation of Order 66. Nearly all the Jedi Knights were hunted down and killed by Darth Vader, with the exception of a very few then who just totally gave up being a Jedi and like kind of disappeared into the galaxy to be no more. We do have some people that settled on planets and created a whole different force order. I guess you can say. I should have pulled up those ones, but I didn't. And then you have just like Ramkota And like I said, the Jedi that helped Morgan Katarn, and then he also gave, his lightsaber was passed on to Kyle Katarn, and who was slain towards the beginning, just before we get into Luke's discovery, like Luke coming in to the universe and put into action, have the got received the call, hero's journey, received the call. Let's see here. Hello, beautiful lady. Well, thank you so much for the compliment, and welcome to the channel. Welcome to Caff Chat. So Tuscan Bob says, little known fact, you could also escape the temple if you're portrayed by someone people were allegedly mean to 20 years ago. I wanted to talk a little bit about Ahmad, excuse me, Ahmad Best. So, yeah, but and I posted it on my Twitter. I did a screenshot of the article, and I really didn't want to bring up the article, but there's a point, and thank you for bringing this up. But people are saying that this is Ahmad Best's redemption from what the fans did to him. And people are also putting blame on George on what people did to him. And that's not the case. So Ahmad Best even made fun of Jar Jar for Robot Chicken way before he went on to interview in 2018 or 19 about how the fans harassed him, how the media harassed him, and how he couldn't disassociate himself from the character, which I find crazy. Yes, when you are doing an art, whether it's acting, whether it's painting, I have my easel back here behind me, and people start critiquing, like the media starts critiquing this character or your art, and you can't separate yourself from that. There's more inner issues within your own self. And mind you, I'm not saying that this harassment of the media-driven harassment stuff didn't happen, and I'm not trying to say that he wasn't affected in such a way, but when you can't separate yourself from the character, there's a problem within that. There's a huge problem within that. So people are saying this is his redemption, like apology for what George Lucas did to him and what the fans did to him. When you go back and see and do the research, it was media driven. People are so crazy to always believe media. Even today, we are seeing it without having individual thought or whatever. People didn't care for the character. That doesn't mean it's the actor they don't care for. When someone, and like my art, you guys can't see it, but I have my art behind here. If you don't like my art, that's fine. Does it mean anything about me? No, it just means that my art's not for you. That's it. You have to have thick fucking skin. That's it. Thick skin. Thick skin. So this is not about saying that he wasn't harassed and stuff by the critics, by media-driven harassment, I guess you can say, which people do follow like sheep what the media have to say. And then people who do not like the character generally just doesn't like the character. It doesn't mean that it's towards the actor. It just means the character. And it's not George's fault either for this harassment. Nonetheless. And George did not create racial stereotypes within the characters that he created in the PT. That is a fallacy as well. So I just wanted to touch bases with that. I felt bad for Ahmad Best and how the impact of how people or how the media and people didn't like the character impacted him. But that's not him. He's not the character. And that's where I feel pity for him as well, because he couldn't separate himself from the character. So there you go. That's all I have to say about that. Wonder what cringe factor will be covered, or we'll come up to that. Matt Wilkins, hello. How's the hottest looking laundry basket on the YouTube doing? I guess it's doing fine. Actually, it's cleared out. The laundry's been done, but it's filling up again. So that's the state of the laundry basket right now. That's the state of the laundry basket. And let's see here. And I don't know about cringe factor, but Screen Rant did an article about Anakin Solo being the better legacy than Ben Solo for Annie. Well, yeah, I mean, I agree with that. There's some things that I'm like, oh shit, I actually fucking agree with them. Tuska Bob, no, they expressed that they hated the character. His mental illness is his failing. So you're right. It's about the character. And he couldn't separate from that. And that was basically the mental illness, basically. If you want to call it that. It is the mental illness. And which put him out on the ledge to commit suicide. The wind called him back because he realized the wind was so strong that it almost threw him over, I guess. I don't know. But all I know is that he recognized he couldn't disassociate from the character. And because he couldn't, that's where the problem was with this critique. That's where the problem is when people didn't like Jar Jar, and that's how it got to him, because he couldn't separate himself. Yeah, you could put your passion into your art. I do all the fucking time. When I'm dancing on stage, or I'm out there dancing in a power circle, I'm putting myself out there, right? If I don't get picked for first, second, or third in a competition, yeah, I mean, that kind of stings. It does. But then it pushes me to be better. I go back and I'm like, what did I do wrong? Or what did I not do right? Or what do I need to improve on? And I work on it. Now, that's the difference. Again, you got to grow some tough skin. Screen Rant has some objectivity, sorry, but most of them are Disney shills. Of course they are. I've already proven that many times before. I reject the narrative just as I reject the Kelly Marie trans narrative. And that's the thing. So that article that Screen Rant did about Ahmad Best, I did scan through what it had to say. And they throw all this narrative of what the fans did to not only him and Jake Lloyd, but then they throw in Callie Marie trans, and even Finn's character or actor. What the fuck is his name again? I'm always forgetting his name now. But anyways, they threw them in there to show how bad Star Wars fans are, how racist Star Wars fans are, when a lot of them proved that it wasn't the fans. So they're still reaching for that narrative, which is so, it's disturbing and dishonest. Channel Scarface, hey, how you doing? How are you doing? How's it going? It's going well. So we'll finish up these few comments and then we'll segue into the cringe factor. Orange Chat Review, I honestly don't understand the hate for Jar Jar. I guess it is because I know the purpose that George Lucas had for him and his true purpose that was unused. Also, his arc after the Empire's rise was stupid. And see, some people don't read anymore. Like there's those casual movie fans that didn't like the comedic Jar Jar. And then they never really got into the EU to see what else happened in that character. Let's see here. John Boyega. Yeah. I don't know why I keep on forgetting his friggin' name. It's like the second time. I'm like, Finn's character? or not character, Finn's actor. But anyways, so we're gonna get into our cringe factor article now. So let's do this, ladies and gentlemen.
So uncivilized.
Yes, it's so uncivilized. And that's the whole point of this. And I forgot to put this up here. So anyway, so that's the point of all of this. It's so uncivilized, right? So let's get into this right here. Has Star Wars forgotten the point of Order 66? So there's not that much like holy shit, we need to really, talk about this cringe factor shit here. That's what goes on my mind sometimes. I'm like, if you could be in my head and how much I cuss and like all the sarcasm and all that goes on in my mind, you would be amazed. You'd be like, what the fuck, Laura? What's wrong with you? But anyways, here I am. And here's this article. The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 4 reveal who took Grogu out of the Jedi Temple, adding another name to the list of Jedis who survived Order 66. So this is the reason why I wanted to get into Order 66, the Purge, the clones, and survivors. Because I feel that when I do these cringe factor articles here, I also want to clarify the lore. And then compare and contrast with the Disney lore that they're maybe talking about, maybe not. So I want to make sure that the lore is clear to everybody, gives us a chance to really nerd and talk about, Star Wars lore, what had happened during that time in this unique history of Star Wars, and what's being created now. So here we have, I don't even know this character's name. So, and I'm not asking anybody forgive me because I don't care. I know it's Ahmad Best, and that's all I need to know. And I know that he somehow miraculously survived, the siege of the temple, Nightfall. I don't even know. Is Nightfall a part of the Disney lore too? Is that a part of the Disney lore? I don't know. I didn't look into it. I didn't even think about it earlier. So let me go ahead and click this ad out of here. It looks like he's stabbing him in the back. Anyways, The Mandalorian Season 3 just revealed Star Wars' newest Order 66 survivor. Year after years of the theories regarding who saved Grogu. So years. You act like it's like we're going on like 6 or 7 years. It's only a couple, not even. Who saved Grogu from Order 66. The Mandalorian Season 3, Episode 4, The Foundling, confirmed, and that's the name of the episode. Okay. Confirmed that it was a Jedi who took Grogu out of the temple. We all knew it was a Jedi. Because Anakin, our young Vader, is not going to, take him out of the temple. He'd kill the little bastard, and I wish he did. Should have just killed him. And now look at, he's not a part of Luke's failing future order, Jedi Order, because, if he was, he would be killed by Kylo and them during our Ben Solo Kylo during that purge. No, you can't kill any of Filoni's characters. No way. No. So this is that guy's name. So it's Kelleran Beck, played by Ahmad Best, who saved Grogu and escaped with the child through hyperspace, adding another name to the list of Jedi who survived Order 66. Oh, I wonder. This is probably like the list of it. I'm not going to click on it though. From Kanan Jarrus putting together a lightsaber in the Star Wars Rebels first episode to Cal Kestis, returning in Jedi Survivor. Star Wars continues to make Luke Skywalker's role in the original trilogy a bit less special. And that's the thing. That's another reason why I wanted to talk about the survivors. Because when you get into the original lore, like even those Jedi who were still active during that time, they were hidden, they ceased to be Jedi, or they were purged. Yeah. Several Jedi were alive between episode 3, A Revenge of the Sith, and A New Hope. And while most of them could be dead by the events of The Empire Strikes Back, though those are still Order 666 retcons. Kelleran Beck or Bach or whatever, fate is a mystery, but he undoubtedly escaped Order 66. So what do you guys think about this? So because he escaped Order 66, does that mean that he's stronger, more cunning? I did not watch the scene for that, for the escape that they showed. I did see that he escaped through a Naboo vessel that looked very similar to, and even the guards that were surrounding it were Naboo guards that were very similar to Padme's, security, all of that. But how, I mean, that's another thing now. People are like, what? This needs to be explained. If her ship was taken during that time of nightfall, she's still at her home. She's not facing, or she's not going after Anakin at Mustafar. She hasn't left yet. But that's a Naboo ship. So whose is it? And why aren't the guards stopping him? And where are the clone troopers to get at him? Anyways, I'm going to take a look at the chat before I move on. So let's see here. Let me see what you guys have to say. Let's see here. Okay, I'm scrolling up. I have to show this. Channel says, it would be so much cooler if literal Jar Jar came and rescued Grogu instead of this guy. Just imagine that. Misa gonna rescue. Showing up, at the wrong time, and like how Jar Jar just has that uncanny way of self. I love Alora's potty mouth. Well, thank you. Let's see here. It would have been so much cooler if I read that one. Tuscan says here, if your mental well-being is attached to fan and critics' reactions to characters you play, then acting is not a profession for you. Yeah, that's a great point. So you have to separate yourself. You do have to separate. Mind you, in the moment when you're recording and you're acting out and you are filming, basically, that's what I meant to say, then that's when you put yourself into it. But then after that, you have to disassociate yourself because you're no longer that. You're not that. That character is not a real thing. Fans, who was able to save Grogu and why just him? John and Dave, just some random insignificant Jedi who happened to come across Grogu. That's the thing. Because that's very shitty of a Jedi Knight. I'm assuming he's a knight and not a master. Actually, why is he at the temple? Why isn't he off it at the outer rim with his garrison of troops? Why isn't he a general? Because a lot of these knights and masters are generals. That's the other question. And then, why only Grogu? Isn't the purpose of the Jedi to save everyone? So why only him? So then he's less of a Jedi because he is only saying one Jedi, one youngling is more significant than the rest that are being executed at the temple. That's the other thing. So it makes him less of a character, like less of a Jedi, less of a worthy Jedi for doing that, instead of saying, oh, wait a minute here, let's try to rescue as many as we can. But the only reason they did that is because they wrote themselves into the corner when they created Grogu as a survivor. And I've been asking this question since then. Like, whatever Jedi, even before we knew who it was, whatever Jedi or whoever it was who rescues Grogu is not a true Jedi, because it's not the Jedi way to think one is more significant than the other. They even treated Anakin that way. Like, Anakin, yes, he's the chosen one, but in the long run, he's as everybody's as significant as he is. So let's go on. We knew it was a Jedi, just not a game show host Jedi. What a joke. He definitely knew. The Naboo starship for the member berries so the seals can clap. Yes. I don't have one of those seal clapping things. I like the concept and everything, but after a while, like, to me, it gets annoying. I get it. But I get it, and it's a thing, and it makes everybody laugh. I get the humor from it and all that stuff. But just the noise, the seal noise, just gets on my nerve. James Unchanged, that's Disney for you. Give the fans more questions, not answers. Isn't the ship reserved for the royalty of Naboo? That's what I was thinking too, and I haven't really looked into that. And why would those guards allow a Jedi to take off in the ship? Why? It seemed like he had it planned. The way they carried on, where he exactly knew he needed to be, it seemed like it was a plan, which is very odd. Isn't that ship? Oh, I already read that one. Lava, do it for the actors, not the audience. Good call. I say Killeen stole it, but the guards let him. The guards didn't stop him. The guards were there. That's why they need to move from the pre-Yavin and Galactic Civil War era between Kanan and Cal. They're doing too much with the particular age. You can also say that too with when you get into Starkiller, when you get into Force Unleashed. So if we're gonna say that with one, say it with the other. So we did have Starkiller that was found, and then he kind of redeemed. There's a whole story behind that. So it's crazy. It's crazy. Palpatine's speech about if the Jedi aren't all destroyed, a civil war without end is having less and less impact. John and Dave, Star Wars fans ask why and say they answer how with a silly, nonsensical action sequence. It's just so... Jeez. Hi there, Fractured Filter. How you doing? Thanks for joining. So many Jedi survivors who just turned tail. Laugh out loud. And that's the thing. They're building these Jedi up to be the significant part of the rebellion, the early rebellion, or fighting against or whatever. But then in the end... Oh, you know what? Let me just hold on to that thought. By the time we get post Return of the Jedi, and people are like, Luke Skywalker and Jedi are a myth. What? Because you have so many of these survivors that were a significant to the Rebel Alliance. How in the fuck are Jedi a myth? When they worked with people who are, born after, the beginning of the Empire, after Clone Wars, who witnessed Jedi, going back and forth with the Rebel Alliance, and like Ahsoka, well, she's not necessarily Jedi, but she's trained as one. She left the Jedi Order, so she's no longer one, but she's trained as one. She has the skills as one. Then you have Kanan, then you have Ezra, then you have Cal, and then you have this guy, which like I said, he may be purged later. But my point is, how in the hell are Jedi a myth in the Disney lore when they were still significant during the dark times? It's like, the more you think about it, the more it's like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, this lore is shitty. It's like they can't keep consistent with anything. That goes with the helmet and the dork saber. There you go, Tuscan Bob, the dork saber. Oh lordy, we're talking about the Mando. Well, kind of. We're talking about the talk was Order 66. So if you catch the replay, we do talk about Order 66, the history of it, what was going on during that time, among other little things sprinkled in, here and there. But this article is about Order 66 and how in Disney lore it's less significant, like every single Jedi seems to be, living after. Yeah, I agree. Ahsoka should have been dead. I'm gonna get back to that article. They could have had Jar Jar come to the bridge as the ship jumped, and who knows, maybe in another flashback we'll see that. For member berries, oh dear, they needed a character to boost a car, and they cast Black Eye, or yeah, to do it. That is oh my god. He's like boom, a stereotype here. So they redeem Ahmad Best by giving him a stereotypical type character. Kenobi looks at holograms of more Jedi surviving in Order 66. It can't be. And then Disney Lucasfilm is consistent at being inconsistent. Correct. Let's go back to that. I don't want to go over to my 2 hours here. I think like the 2 hour mark is a very comfortable time frame of chatting with you guys, laughing, cringing, all of that, talking lore, shooting the shit, I guess you could say. Let's see here. I don't know where I left off at. I'm going to scroll down here. So here is Fall of Night, the Nightfall. And so the siege of the temple. Revenge of the Sith Order 66 sequence is one of the most memorable moments in the entire Star Wars saga. One that elevated Episode 3 and helped the prequels end on a high note. I rather like the prequels. I do have critiques on certain parts of it, but doesn't take my enjoyment out of it. I don't think it was a failure. I don't think George did bad. I know people, like there's some people are like, okay, whatever, Laura. But anyways, after several problems. So, I know after several problems. However, and see, again, we have media. This goes to show we have media influence here of people's minds about how the PT was, how the character Jar Jar was, all of that. However, what truly made Revenge of the Sith Order 66 scene, or just basically, you could just say Order 66 scene, so impactful was how definitive it felt. Even though most of those Jedi did not have a significant role in the movies, seeing that many heroes getting killed by clones after 3 films could not have been more shocking. Essentially, Order 66 was supposed to explain how Luke eventually became the last of the Jedi by wiping out the Jedi Order out. Correct. That's the thing. There. Obviously, Yoda and Obi-Wan Kenobi had to survive Order 66 to give their roles to the original Star Wars trilogy. So yeah, they went into exile. Their mission was to go into exile to save the Order. So as long as Yoda and Obi-Wan existed, the Order still existed. And I think many people don't realize that. And they're there to train. They're there to bring up the new Jedi, Luke Skywalker, who, and I always go back to this, to the New Jedi Order section of the Revenge of the Sith novel, who is to, as Yoda foreseen, to create the New Jedi Order. So that is the thing. That is called continuity. That is called keeping to the lore. And like I said, when we're talking about Order 66 and Jedi survivors and stuff, by the time we get to Luke, no Jedi are around other than Obi-Wan and Yoda. Most are killed or have completely disappeared. And this is, I think, where, and only time will tell, and I do keep an eye on Disney Star Wars lore. Only time will tell if this is the direction they will take. It doesn't feel like it right now, and I'm not giving excuses. I feel I like the saying is, I have a bad feeling about this. Um, I think that they're gonna, because we have Ahsoka. No, not a Jedi, but was trained as one, left the order, and still carries on like one. Still gives, from what we've seen, gives Luke advice about what attachment is and how she describes it to Din or Dimhead. And so she's still adhering to the Jedi Order, the Jedi way, which causes a problem. Her existing alone past that and is there to give advice to him and stuff like that. And we have yet to see exactly where she's at during the OT movie period. But her being that huge influence and stuff like that takes significance away from Luke. In addition to lessening the impact of Order 66 itself, every time Star Wars adds a Jedi to the list of Order 66 survivors, the original trilogy era is also impacted. Luke Skywalker was supposed to be the new hope after 20 years, yet there were multiple trained Jedi, our Padawans, that could have made the difference before Luke, thanks to the many Order 66 changes. So there you go. So here are some of them here. I don't know why he's here, but anyways, no matter how large the Star Wars universe is, the franchise works better when Jedi are involved. As such, and then this is where I go back to like X-Wing series. That series of 9 books, my voice is going raspy again. Jeez. Had next to no Jedi influence. And that series is beloved by a lot of EU fans. Because we get the war aspect. We get the people who are out in the front lines of the cleaning and mop up of the remaining empire. And help liberating planets. They liberate Coruscant from the empire. Not how Disney Star Wars has Coruscant, where they're in a civil war, and then so the New Republic or the forming New Republic decides, well, you know, if we remain in one location, we just turn into fascists and we'll end up just like how Palpatine rose. So we'll just move the capital every so often because so we don't fall into that fascism. Basically is what the direction they took that aspect. A leader will go turn bad no matter their location. Location doesn't matter. It's about the person's mind and how they gain control. It's not about the location. It's not about staying in one location. In fact, it's more productive to stay in one location because then you don't have to move all the sensitive information from planet to planet every time you're moving. That compromises. So if you have any enemies out there, that compromises. Because then you can get, then you can caught up in a blockade. You can get caught up in, pulled out of hyperspace and your ships and stuff being seized and stuff like that, or pirates and stuff. So I don't think they thought through that. But that's a difference. That's a subject for a different time. Maybe we'll discuss this on another Caff chat. So basically, let's go on to this right here. So it shows here, as such, when Star Wars Rebels placed the Clone Wars and the main 3D animated Star Wars series, the show was itself with a different challenge. It was a set close to Luke's story, yet it needed to be more interesting than just Rebels. Enter Caden Jarrus, Disney Star Wars canon's first major Order 66 retcon. From then on, it became the norm for Star Wars to establish that a Padawan or a young Jedi had survived the Purge so that they could be a Force-sensitive character carrying a lightsaber during the Age of the Empire. Like I said, We had the Forces Unleashed, the game and the novel, and we have that story there where the Jedi was killed. They did have a little bit of influence, not much, when it came to the forming New Republic, the rebellion, or the forming rebellion, basically. Um, so we had that. And then we had Dark Forces, where we had Morgan Katarn, friend who was a Jedi in hiding, but he really didn't have an influence on the entire Rebel Alliance. He was just kind of like a friend and mentor for Morgan Katarn. And Morgan Katarn basically let his son Kyle go off into the services, into the Empire Imperial Navy, while he, supported, and he helped with their rebellion, their sect of the Rebel Alliance, I guess you can say. So, but the Jedi that he was friends with really didn't have a significant influence. So there's that. Well, it makes sense for Star Wars to seek Jedi characters for its most important release. A Star Wars video game can be much more fun when lightsabers are involved. That many canon Order 66 survivors, or I don't know why they put canon, they just put Order 66 survivors play against the very concept of the Jedi Purge. In addition, and see, that's the thing. Games in the original structure of canon weren't entirely canon or a part of the continuity. There were elements to the story that was, especially if there's a novel created after it. So, but with Disney, Star Wars, Disney, Lucasfilm, they said everything's going to be coherent, one continuity in the canon pertaining to the movies. Where in original Star Wars, we had the hierarchy of canon. We had some things that were what if stories, like Infinities, that were non-canon but were just fun to read, what if kind of scenarios. Then you had S canon, where, like I said, games were particularly placed in because how you played, and some of the storylines weren't particularly canon to the overall continuity of the novel that the game was based upon, or the vice versa. So, you had that. Was it confusing? Not really. I mean, I wasn't, but I mean, hey, nowadays, people can get confused off of stupid shit. And that's all I have to say about that. Let's see here. And that's it. So what do you guys think? What do you guys think? Are you guys curious to see what's going to happen with this Disney lore, and how they're going to, like, all these characters that are coming into influence the Rebel Alliance? What do you think about that? What do you think about their influence pertaining to the Rebel Alliance, its formation, all of that? Let's see here. Let's see. For real, like the end of the Jedi game when Cal just destroys the holocron with the survivor list in it, though. Wow. See, I don't know much about the game. I hear people talking about it all the time. I don't know much about that. And the kid who Reva killed on Kenobi pulls all those Jedi who the Underground Railroad rescued. Yeah, that's right, the Underground Railroad thingy. So are we, like, with all these names on the list, those are Jedi that passed through, right, Tuscan Bob? And then, so if those are the names, like the huge list on the wall in Arabish of all those Jedi that passed through who survived, that also goes against that. So great call. I forgot all about that. No, sorry, the sequence was fine, but it's not even my top 5 emotions moments in the movie. Yeah. I agree. Let's see here. Mace Windu did beat Palpatine, but Anakin ruined his victory for the Jedi. Yeah, because it was that sorry, I lost my train of thought. Well, I didn't lose it. I'm like, what do I want to say about that? It was his manipulation in his choice of words that made Anakin falter. And that was Mace's downfall. So sip more coffee. Yes, more coffee. And let's see here. Disney Lucasfilm laughs at continuity making sense. Well, yeah. I mean, even Filoni does. I have written off the lore. If I do watch the content, it will be when they conclude the season. Yep. Yeah, so there you go, you guys. So there's this. They do have the wall, the Jedi wall of people Jedi that pass through on their underground, making it like the Underground Railroad of our time. So I would like to know, and I think I need to find that image. I would like to know all the names on that wall. How many names, of course. So once we know all the names, you'll know how many names to know who survived. How many survived the Purge? And if they're still alive. Because if you have significantly that many and they're still alive, there's a huge problem with that. There's a huge problem. And then if you have an Underground Railroad, I'm sorry, they made Vader and Palpatine so fucking stupid in this lore. But if they did have an Underground Railroad type theme, Palpatine would know. He knew everything. Well, in the original lore, he knew everything. Which means they just gave a list on that fucking wall of all the survivors to hunt down. How fucking stupid is that? That's like just giving the paper, like writing down, oh, sign here, and then leaving the paper on a table. And here comes Palpatine. He's like, oh, okay, well, okay, we have this, this, and this. Let's go ahead and Vader, here's your assignment. Hunt these guys down. Why would you have people who are supposed to be fucking hiding sign their names on the wall in an area that was discovered by Vader anyways, that Palpatine knew everything? It's like signing a guest book after the Purge. All the survivors come here, sign your name. Fucking stupid. Okay, let's see here. I'm curious because it just gets more and more silly how all these other characters disappeared during the trilogies. Right. That's me. I'm in the same boat as you, Tuscan Bob, and we would be interesting. We'd have an interesting conversation and all that, and be very entertaining between both of us. But anyways, I'm just being stupid and crazy now and funny. But anyways, we'd keep good company. We'd keep good company within that boat. But I'm with you on that. Because, like I just said, scratching your name on the wall basically is giving yourself up. You might as well fucking sign a book, a guest book, after the Purge. It's so fucking stupid. Let's see here. They turned Sidious into Power Rangers villain of the week. Ugh. Almost a dumbass Bail Organa leaving a voicemail about Luke. Correct. That too. Because the Empire is in control of the Hollow Net. And it's even established in the Kenobi novel. And this is where you got better strategic writing plans on thinking about how would this be interacted or intercepted by the Empire. And Obi-Wan Kenobi in the Kenobi novels, like, I don't want to send any, like, I have this communication pad. It's under security. It's secure. I can communicate with Bell anytime I want to check in, but I don't want it to be compromised. But he does do that a little bit to get Annalene off the planet. There is that one exception to the rule, but it has nothing to do with Luke or him or anything else. It's just about helping someone get their application in. But to blatantly speak about Luke or about that mission in a sense where the feed can be intercepted by the Empire, fucking stupid. Let's see here. Joker, it would be funny if it weren't so pathetic. Oh, what the heck? I'll laugh anyways, right? It's all a fucking joke. And Tuscan says, never mind, the HoloNet in the damn show Reva found it when went straight to Luke. Right. And that's another thing. That is that too. I'm thinking about the bigger picture, but yes, you're right. Like I said, I haven't watched that. I know about scenes, I know about things from research and stuff, but you are absolutely correct. And now, didn't she survive? So now she has the knowledge of Luke, which is very compromising in itself. To Luke's story, to the story of the overall 2 trilogies. Or the main one, at least, the OT. So there you guys go. Like I said, these articles, like from Screen Rants, Comic Book Review, and all that, are very cringy, clickbaity, but it does give us a direction on where they're going with the lore. There are some truth behind some things that they report on where they want to go and how they're deceiving fans and stuff like that. So even though it's clickbait, it's cringe factor bullshit type things, it does reveal truth. It gives you a clear sense on the direction, if you haven't seen it already, on where they're going with the lore, or have gone, or continue to go. So thank you guys again for coming in and hanging out with me. And I still have people chiming in, so let's check this out. Everything Disney does makes Star Wars characters or factions dumber and dumber. I agree. It used to be, and I say this now because Disney now has the reins, and to me, he still is, but now the newer generations, he's not going to be as impactful as a villain. But it used to be that Vader was one of the greatest movie villains of all time. And that's just what George given us, right? Through the movies. And then when he invited all these authors to write in his sandbox, and yes, I'm going to use that term loosely, because they still had to adhere to rules and continuity and keep continuity, and they're part of the saga still. But when he allowed these writers to come in and expand on these characters, he set rules, boundaries, all of that. We know that. I don't have to get into that. They kept to the path of how George wanted these characters to be seen, including Vader. Nowhere have I read Vader so far in the original EU. And mind you, I'm like now been going through the comics because back then I was mostly a novel reader. So my EU knowledge comes from mainly the novels, sometimes the games. Like I said, I didn't fully get into games after I got involved in other things. The comics are like now, something that I've been traveling through, experiencing. Some of them are cheesy as hell, especially you get into the early times of the Marvel comics of Star Wars. And I've been enjoying that. But as far as Vader, they kept in continuity with what George wanted him to be. When we get into Disney, that's not the case. So I'm trying to make it distinctively clear, if you guys haven't seen that, Vader is now a cuck in Disney lore. Now, mind you, that hall scene was very OP, and he could have easily just ripped the plans from that guy's hand. That's it. That was all the sake for dangling the keys in member berries. That's all. That's it. And that's the only thing that people really remember Rogue One as about, is from that Vader hall scene. He could have just forced, grabbed, pulled that plan. But see, even the disc, even that, the delivery of that plan breaks continuity. That's a whole nother story in itself. All right, so I'm trying to close out on the show, but you guys are still carrying on, so I'll go through it, no rush. And it makes no sense that the Emperor wouldn't hear rumors about all those surviving Jedi helping people. That's what the Purge was about. The Purge was the Purge was about finding out who survived and hunting them down. Because any remaining Jedi compromises the Emperor's plan in the long run. Everything happens because everyone is an idiot. This is the way. And there's some truth to that. So much wild space in unknown territories, and Disney has to ruin known characters and lore. No, that once they get to wild space in a known region, they're going to ruin that shit too. Just wait and see. It's their thing, James. It's their thing. And Red Hoodwinked said, and it makes no sense that the Emperor wouldn't hear rumors about all those surviving Jedis helping people. Why isn't he sending anyone to investigate them? And a big ol' laugh. Hi, CJ. How you doing? And that's it. I think Alora meant to say Bore One. Bore One. Rogue One, Bore One. Yes, exactly. I'd rather sit down and read Dark Force. Yeah, Dark Forces than that. And I'd rather sit down and read Death Star than Rogue One. That's it. So thank you guys again. I appreciate every single one of you guys for tuning in, hanging out with me, and laughing and discussing all of that fun stuff. Again, the spacing is like 5:05 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, my time this Friday. I will be at work during that time, so more than likely I won't be on the show, but there are some special guests coming in from the channel I'm Your Alibi, and that's going to go into Filoni stuff, Ahsoka stuff, so stay tuned. Go over to Open Airlock Policy and tune in with Greg and Tim and the beautiful ladies. Like I said, I don't remember their names. I'm sorry. So, but they are from I'm Your Alibi channel. So go check out their videos. Go watch because they break some stuff down. Greg said that he had to pause when Ahsoka was speaking because it was just too much for him. So there's a little warning factor. She does share small clips as part of her evidence on some of the stuff that she breaks down. So if you can't stand the Ahsoka voice, that's the warning. And even there's some Dave Filoni, some voice in there too. So go check the spacing out this Friday. Again, I have to work, so it should be a good one. I'll be catching the replay. If it's still going on and I feel like, oh crap, it's gonna, and I don't know when it's gonna end, I may not jump on. I'm not sure, but I may be in there modding a little bit if I have the time after I'm done with work. So go check that out. It should be a great one, listening to them all discuss Filoni and Ahsoka and the lore, all of that pertaining to TCW, I'm guessing, and anything like else that Filoni is involved with, I'm pretty sure. So go check that out. And as for me, I do have the video on deck. I'm going to be doing that, finally publishing the manufacturer video, Star Wars manufacturer video, vehicle video here pretty soon. So stay tuned for that. I just came back from training and then just catching up with life. So thank you guys again for tuning in, and I shall talk to you guys later. So catch me on my Twitter, on my community channel, all of that. And may the Force be with you.
Prepare yourself for Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. The evil Empire has struck back with a vengeance, and a new villain, the crime lord Shizor, schemes to replace Darth Vader as the Emperor's second-in-command. With Han Solo held frozen in carbonite by bounty hunter Boba Fett, it's the rebellion's darkest hour. Now, join Jedi warrior Luke Skywalker, hard-charging Chewbacca, and go undercover with heroic pilot Dash Rendar and his booming Outrider. But can Han Solo be freed and Shizor be stopped? Star Wars Shadows of the Empire. Look for the authentic figures and vehicles from Kenner.
Another happy landing.